I've had where we didn't hit the record button before, and it's like, dang it. Okay.
We've all been there.
Bree, in studio. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Good. So first and foremost, thank you for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
This is interview number 2 in the new studio we're trying. It is a little warm, and I should have ironed the tablecloth. So
well, luckily since it's a podcast.
Yes.
It's not a big issue.
There will be a YouTube version that'll eventually go up. Probably. We were talking a little bit beforehand about the Facebook algorithm and trying to figure out how to do it.
Very, very fickle.
Yes, it is. It is. But my mom, and it's so funny, when my wife and I got married, she was like, we have to have the tablecloths for our wedding tables, like ironed and all dry cleaned or whatever. I don't know. And now I understand why. And I also got curtains, and my curtains look terrible too. So thank you for bearing with me. This is new. We're learning. We're trying.
Yeah,
so it's good.
This was 12 minutes from my house.
Very exciting.
I didn't even know that you lived around here until you messaged me.
I stay pretty low key because it's one of those where I have I won't say a lot. I have people reach out to me all the time, and I really just try to keep like the Jesse figure out of it all. And I just want the podcast to go because it's so funny. I'll be at an event. I'm sure you're like this too. People hear your voice and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're from the thing." And you're like, "Oh, it's you."
Yeah.
And it is a new thing for me. It's really weird because I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I don't know if I'm supposed to keep talking to you.
Yeah.
Or do I
act like I know them?
Yeah. Or my thing is like I'll be walking somewhere and then someone will be like, "Hey, man," blah, 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 and I'm like, do I stop conversation or can I keep going to the bathroom? Because that's probably where I was going.
I had someone stop me when I was coming out of the bathroom one time and want to take a picture. I was like, this is the most awkward spot.
Timing.
But okay.
Okay, so let's jump right into it. Finals.
Yes.
You guys did an awesome job. It was 2 days slammed.
It was.
Stuff. Like, I will say, and we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
If you guys could do that every weekend or every race weekend, that, as a fan, awesome. I was out there working on shocks. Had you guys on in my garage TV. You guys were going. I was definitely working on Friday, watching it in here. So I was trying to get the full weekend. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what I told my boss I was doing. So finals. How did it go?
Well, like you said, it was awesome. I mean, the event itself went so smoothly, and I mean, I'm sure there's probably some behind the scenes stuff I don't know about. Mm-hmm. There's always a little bit of drama anytime you get a group of people together.
I've seen the drama.
Yes, I think we've all seen it at one point or another. But the event went so smoothly, and I mean, it was all of that is just a team effort because the staff at Mid-America, I mean, they worked for weeks, and Jason, the owner, and they're so good at what they do there, and with hosting and with all the options that they're able to offer there. And so it just was like the perfect combination for our finals, which, in the past we've done at Bikini Bottoms and with the Icelandic Formula Off-Road guys.
Yeah.
And, so since that wasn't able to happen this year, I think this was the perfect sort of shift into still being able to offer something extra because it's finals, you want to do special.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have the mega trucks and they had some drag racing. I don't know. I haven't seen any pictures or video from that yet. They might be floating around out there, but just all kinds of stuff going on, that the park offered extra. They had concert, and really good bands playing and just bonfire and all this stuff. So it's just a good combination. Just so many things to offer for everyone that was watching live and for people that were there in person.
Yeah.
And their amenities are awesome at the park. I'm sure everyone's heard us talk about them and heard us sing their praises, but I mean, they really do. Jason especially has such a vision for the park, and that is going to be a good segue in a minute.
Hey, there you go.
And then of course his staff, they all work so hard, and the only downside to that park is that it is 10 hours away from me. So
that is why I was not in attendance. That will be my reason this time. It's why I wasn't there.
Yeah, I wish that was Southeast America, not Mid-America.
Let me ask you a question. Can that be built at a different park? Like, so Dirty Turtle's one that every series hits.
Right.
And we hit it multiple times a year. Could Dirty Turtle build the infrastructure there to have that, or a park, any park out here?
I don't know. It's, we talk a lot on the show about the different personality of each park we go to and what they're able to offer in terms of what we can use for racing.
Sure.
Dirty Turtle has a track out there that they can do UTV races on that most parks don't have. And Bikini Bottoms, of course, has, Fable Hill and the concrete wall, and Hawk Pride is lots of rock and hill, and just, every park we go to has different options for racing. So as far as like infrastructure, I don't know, man, it's a lot of time and money that goes into something like that. And I know all of our park owners are dedicated, and but not every not every park has the space. Because it takes a lot that was like a lake bed that we were out on at finals that they were able to build the track on and race along the hillside there, and just the amount of cabins and bathhouses, and that all takes a lot of room aside from just the money, and and then there's the environmental issues that come into it depending on part of the country you're in.
That's true too.
And, no, it's not fun for anybody, but it's part of it. So.
Yeah. Well, the further west you go, I mean, the more complicated it seems to get.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know we've got our own complications around here sometimes, but yeah. So I don't know. That's a really good question.
So I have had this like reoccurring theme. And it's something we'll get to in a little while, but what is it going to take for I don't want to say like a fresh breath, but what's going to give rock bouncing its second wind? Because we've made this huge jump into, we have these really competitive race teams. It's no longer these 2 or 3 guys that are really dominating.
Right.
We have a bunch of guys that are doing great, but there's the whatever, all the trolls online, if you want to call them that, they have the same things that they say every time. And, I don't think it's necessarily what they're saying, or I don't think it's like I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's, it's going to take an effort from everybody to get us into that next jump. And one of the things I'll ask you later to keep everybody involved here, is what those things are going to be, what's going to take it to the next level. But let me tell you this, finals from the fan perspective was awesome. And I feel like I need to make a retraction, because I was watching on Friday and saw you guys run Hill 1. And for those who didn't or haven't seen it yet, it was a short course and then I would say moderate difficulty. It was doable. Doable. That's a great way to put it. It was a doable hill, and UTVs, bouncers ran the same hill. So I made a post that said an Ultra 4 car would do really well here, right? And of course, that came to bite me in the butt when I saw Hill 2 like 2 hours later.
As anything on social media has the capability.
Yes, I have.
And probability.
I have learned my lesson, and it's there's a thing in like the software world that I work in. You can be on like the cutting edge, and then you can be on the bleeding edge. And the cutting edge is like you're right there on the front of technology, but you're still in a good spot. The bleeding edge is you're at the very tip of the sword, and you're like, oh, this could go really bad or really good, depending on which way it goes. I've learned my lesson to be a little bit more conservative.
Hey, it's hard to know. It's a hot topic right now, and I don't think there's anything wrong with having conversations within the industry and within the sport. And everybody has their opinions. And I know for me personally, as somebody who has both, but competes and sees it from a spectator point of view, doing the show, and when I'm not racing, I personally prefer a longer driving style course. I think if only 1 or 2 drivers can make a hill, that's an awesome bounty hill. But for as far as a race event, I think it should be doable for most of the drivers. I mean, you think of all the hours of travel and all the hours spent in the shop, and then excuse me, to show up, and it takes 10 minutes just to get buckled into the buggy, and then to have like a 40-second run, or to pull up to a hill and you give it your best shot and roll over. And then, that might be your weekend. So my preference personally, I know some drivers agree and some don't. And that's fine. No one's ever going to want exactly the same thing. Exactly. And that's the beauty of the different parks we go to, and being able to utilize different courses at those parks. But I prefer a longer, more driving, so a doable hill, so that it's more about speed and driving skill than just pulling up to this big hill, hitting it, hoping for the best, even if you've got a good plan. Usually by the time you get your first bounce, I don't know how Tim Cameron feels in there, but I know how I feel, and it gets a little discombobulated,
Yeah.
So, and then, like I said, you roll your brake, you're done, and and there's so much that goes into it, and trying to be at these events, and so yeah, that's my take on it. But I see the other side, and I know hill killing, is the kind of the foundation of the sport, or at least what started it, and what people love to watch. Everyone loves to watch a good beat down. Nobody likes to watch recovery though. That's something that happens a lot when you get when you get a Bounty Hill style race. So yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it. So I personally and Dad and I, we both like that kind of race. But probably some of the most fun I've ever had racing was a UTV survival race. And that's because I spent 50 miles in the driver's seat, not 50 seconds. And that's not something I would want to do every weekend. And I only did it once. But that would shout out to Jody Ford for letting me drive his UTV. It was a great experience. And again, not something I'd want to do every weekend. And the big bouncer is definitely, I like to drive whatever. So it's just fun to hop in and not take it too seriously to where you can't enjoy it anymore. But definitely a little driving. I mean, we've got rear steer on the buggy, so we love that kind of stuff. But and not everybody does. I know Bobby likes to hit a big hill. The Bacons they want to hit a big hill. That's what their buggies are good for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you this too. I think that like when you look at everything and you have the question of like, well, what's the perfect hill? It should be more Bounty or this. I really can't understate. I think finals was awesome. Because you did have the short course, which a lot of people, or maybe the consensus is like it's just filler so they can drive. But we saw Travis Skelton roll twice. First off, in the same spot. I just felt so bad.
I know.
Second
I was
time,
like, Travis.
Yes. So we saw Travis come around a corner off a big jump, and he rolls right in the short course, doesn't even make it to the hill. And it really does. It adds a layer of complexity. And it does. And it's. I mean, look at Matt Schussler.
That's what I was just gonna say. Yeah, he. I told him afterwards, like, dude, you looked awesome coming through those whoops, and then all of a sudden, whoops. Everything went down.
Well, it's so funny because so the podcast is actually partnered with Diddy's Big Block Race Shop, and I was like talking to everyone who does suspension, and I was like, what do you guys think about can the chassis stay the same way that they're designed right now and perform both really good at hill killing and this whoop section. And we were talking about it's funny, I called Chris who runs Diddy's, and I was like, it's so funny because you see these bouncers and like you can tell who puts time in shock tuning. It's very evident. And then on the flip side, you look at a UTV bouncer and you're like even shock tune rigs, they're like, what is going on? And I talked to him and he was like, the way you have to tune a bouncer is just so counterintuitive to each,
Well, and every vehicle is like a one-off rig. I mean, you can't, so that just adds to the complexity of. I don't pretend to be a Jake Berkey or a Phil.
Me either.
What's Licardi? Is that how you say his last name?
Licciardi? I don't know. I had him on a show and I just
everybody knows who he is.
Just threw it under the carpet. Exactly.
But I mean, I can see where it's what started out as guys just like having some tube in their shop and welding it together and has turned into a much more complex equation to make it suitable for what we're heading towards,
One of the most beautiful things though, I think is Big Tim Bacon. He was out there and he did kick butt just in the old trail, looking car that he's had for forever was just up there pounding it. I thought it was awesome to see him out there.
And that's what's so cool about this sport is, I mean, from the beginning, I started driving in the Juggy, and that wasn't to be competitive. That was because of peer pressure got me involved in the sport. But, and then it's bring out what you got, and go for it. I mean, look at Dex and how well he did this past weekend. And he's got a buggy that works, but this was his first season with us too. And crazy. He completed the two most difficult hills, so that's just cool because you never know what'll happen. I mean, Timmy went and rolled, and nobody expects that. We're all surprised when it happens, and look, Matt Schisler and
there was plenty of surprises. For sure.
So yes, you never know.
Okay, so finals went really well. You guys will be back there again next year for Visions.
We will, which I'm really excited about. Clyde talked to me about it a while back, when
Mhm.
I guess that the idea was starting, and wanted to know about if I would want to be involved in doing the media and the live
Yeah.
show and everything that week. And I was like, yeah, of course.
Yeah. That's a long
And
time. Was it 8
it
days?
is. It's 8 days.
Dude,
Yeah.
that's
It's
crazy.
July 16th through 25th, I believe. And yeah, so I know I'm sure they've got a lot in the works that hasn't been released yet too.
Mhm.
I know that in December they've got more details coming, but it's gonna be really cool. And I think it's something that's going to because it's Ultra 4 and it's Mega Truck and it's Bouncers and it's UTV, I think it's going to be a great way to kind of merge the audiences and the
Yes.
following for each sport, because they're all very similar. It's a similar demographic, but still have their separation and their differences,
Mhm.
whether it's regional, like Ultra 4,
Yeah.
type stuff, or just the type of events we go to. We don't normally have mega trucks at our events and
Yeah.
stuff. But yeah, so I think as far as just like merging audiences and kind of being able to cross over
Yeah.
and have an event like that. I mean, I've been to Hammers twice, and that was the first year we had the Avengers, so that would have been 6-ish years ago, I guess. So
Yeah.
6 and 5 years ago. And that's something,
Yeah.
it's something to behold. And obviously Visions will not be out in the middle of the desert, but just people coming together and devoting a week to that. And I'm excited. I think it's going to be really cool. Mid America is the perfect place for it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why I was wanting to bring up Mid America, because, I mean, this is their first year as a premier off-road park.
Yeah.
They just jumped in
as
and
far
they're
as
like,
I know.
boom, they're here. I don't know. I need to get the person who runs Mid America on here, but where did they come from?
That'd be great leading up to Visions.
Yeah, absolutely. Where did they did they just had some land and somebody was like, hey, you've got great hills here?
I can't even really answer that very well. I remember kind of hearing the name tossed around, and it's that park out in Oklahoma. People say it's nice, kind of thing.
Yeah.
I think Outlaw had some events there, or an event before we ever did. And Clyde's the one who told me about it first and stuff. But yeah, definitely until you've been, and Eric Hagan started calling it off-road resort this weekend or last weekend. But and that's definitely, when we talk about Mid America, not to take anything away from any other parks, because we love them all. They've all, the staff and the owners, they do so much for us in the sport. And but yeah, we want to definitely give Mid America credit where they put in so much work. And
I think it's cool, and not to interrupt, but I think it's really cool because it's a challenge to all the other off-road parks, in my opinion. You're raising the bar of the standard. And to me, when you talk about size being an issue, things like that, I used to look at Dirty Turtle and be like, wow, they have a venue that has a short course, and that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And now we have,
and that was Hawk Pride back in the day.
Yeah.
We raced on that in 2013, I think. That was the last time. Sorry,
no, you're fine. No, you're good. This is great.
I chase down these thoughts when they come up. But
that's what you got to do. So this room, it will take thoughts away from you. It'll throw them back to you. Something we talked about at the beginning will end up at the end.
Yeah.
And it's a mess. So it's good luck, everybody.
Enjoy, everyone. Yeah. But I think 2013 is when we left, because I was driving the Juggy, and I don't think we even had. Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Juggy was the last thing I took around that course. There's an awesome video of Shelby Tanner's steering wheel coming off on that course.
That's not good.
It's so funny. Lori Shirley was in there with her. And yeah, so y'all go look that up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's really funny to watch because it was an in-cab GoPro. But so that's how long it's been since we really had a track style included in an SRRS race, and so like you said, Dirty Turtle then had their track, and then America created theirs. So it's interesting to see how it's changed over the years, for sure.
It is. And the reason I brought it up was just because, like you said, all these parks have these characteristics. Adventure Off-Road Park is like death-defying rocks that just hurt and break your back. And, Windrock is just the enormity of what it is. There's so much that goes into these things, and they're all it's like kids, if you have 10 kids, you love them all for something different. They're all unique in their own ways. But I think that going into it, all of the promoters do such a good job of utilizing the park's character. The hill number 2 at Mid America was awesome because it was super steep, super long, super hard, but there wasn't a huge consequence if you didn't make the for example, Blue Holler Waterfall. there is a large consequence if you didn't make that jump, like Bobby Tanner, who
or
lost
a Rush Hill,
or oh my gosh, Rush is its own
Bridgeport Hill,
because it is just a long way back down to the bottom, and I think that is like, again, that hill is like 1 in a million, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get the hardest obstacle at the bottom and then the long hill climb on top. That doesn't happen. Like Rush, for example, the hard part is at the very top, but it really was a perfect storm. And again, to loop it all back around, I personally think that Mid-America is setting the standard not only for the infrastructure, or not only for the terrain and capitalizing on the terrain they have, but the infrastructure. Wi-Fi, beautiful.
Yes.
Absolutely awesome. I know that there's been live stream issues.
Oh my gosh, drive me crazy.
Yes. I know. And the worst part is you can't do anything about it.
Right.
It's not anything that you guys necessarily.
It is. It's so frustrating because we hate it too.
Yeah.
Because I don't even want to watch it. Like that. And you can't even tell what's going on when it was at its worst, and it's like, if there was anything we could have done, it drove all of us crazy too.
Sure.
For sure.
And also, it's one of those things where you've shown up to do a job, right? And you're there doing your job.
We're gonna do it one way or another.
And on top of that, it doesn't benefit you at all for that live stream to be poor. Right. And I think that people, we're still in this infancy stage in the Southeast of trying to get all this stuff going. And you guys, like Mid-America, has the infrastructure to support that.
Yeah, it was just combination. It's just the perfect combination that provides for spectator friendly. I mean, I think that's one thing that has changed so much in the sport. I would say the spectator friendliness of the race courses, safety, and then just the technology that's used in the buggies nowadays. But those three things have changed so much to me, which is important, and they all needed to. So it's so spectator friendly. The amenities, the facilities are top notch. They've got food trucks, they've got bathhouses, they've got cabins, they've got camping spots. And then the Wi-Fi and just the ability to provide for, the media outlets and everything that's there. The only thing, like I said, that'll make it better is if it was a little closer to Tennessee. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay. We're done talking about Mid-America. What does Southern Rock look at next year? Obviously you've got visions. We talked a little bit about that. Is there any more you want to talk about visions? I know you got bull riding. That's wild.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Professional bull riding. They've got, I'm trying to picture the poster in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had the mega truck racing. They had knockout racing, which is a pro rock thing, you know? And so I personally haven't seen that in a little while.
Like 4 or 5 years.
And then, they'll have all the normal bouncer racing, and then all the after hours kind of stuff, they'll have some legit musical guests, which I don't think they've released yet, but I've heard some names floating around, so it's legit. And what else was on there? Just all kinds of stuff. I think they have stuff for the kids, blow up. When we were there over the summer, they had a big old blow up bouncy.
Do they have a small carnival there? It looks like every time I see it, I feel like I've seen a Ferris wheel.
Not that I know of.
All right, maybe.
But I wouldn't put it past them.
I feel like maybe it was last year at one of the outlaw events. I was like, they have a full blown carnival in town. I was like,
it wouldn't surprise me.
Okay,
honestly.
Good to know.
I haven't seen it, but
there's an idea.
So it's the kind of event where I think people could come and just have something to do. It's not like you're going to be sitting around for half a day or waiting all day long for the one race to happen that night. There'll be things happening consistently, and if you can't take 8 days off of work and life, because a lot of people can't, then you can look at the schedule and pick the section, the days. I know the second year I went to Hammers, I was only there for a couple days, but I went for the first part of it for the East versus West. So, you can always do that kind of.
I expect we'll have an East versus West at Visions too. That just probably will happen at some time in there in that mix.
That would be fun too.
That would be cool. There's some great opportunities.
Keep the history there.
Right.
Hammers and bouncing. Yeah.
It'd be cool. Anyways, next year for Southern Rock, what are the guys in charge? What are you guys in charge? What are y'all thinking? Where's it going?
Well, I honestly have not talked to Clyde that much about next season. We it's one of those let's focus on what's now. We just had finals last weekend, so
this is early,
then of course COVID threw everything off this year, so. We crammed a lot into the last couple months of the season, doing makeup races and everything. So now that we've made it through that, and then we have Boo Bash this weekend, then we'll be a couple months for a little breather. And I would speculate for next year, I'm speaking just like I said, haven't nailed down anything specifically with Clyde or anyone, but I know we've talked about a lot of improvements that we want to make to Hillside Live as far as doing the show. And we ask people on the show regularly what they'd like to see, and we get consistent feedback about things and some stuff that we've talked about and noticed over this season too that we want to try and do better or bring that's new. Because that'll be we've had 3 years of it now, so next year we'll be going into our 4th. So like anything, we want to continue to do it and do it better each time if we can.
What are some of those things you guys are thinking about?
Little things like we used to have a screen outside that was connected to Daisy's laptop so that drivers could see their times, and it would have all the times on it. So anyone could come up to the trailer and see their times. Because right now, this notebook sits on the table, and I become real popular with all the drivers after they run because they all want to come up and see the time that I wrote down. So stuff like that, and trying to do instant replays in a way that's more. We've done it a few times.
You guys did it at finals. It looked like it worked well. It looked like it worked well.
So just like smoothing out that process so we can do it. Ooh, we want an instant replay. Let's do it now and not have to like juggle, through 5 different things to do it. And having times up on the screen, which I talked to you about before we started a little bit, which was kind of a Facebook algorithm difficulty there, but just stuff like that, trying to smooth it out. We've got some stuff that we want to do for the drivers. Jonathan Wright with Black Dog Photography took some great headshots at the banquet, the awards banquet after finals of all the drivers. So we want to be able to put a picture up on the screen when they're going,
cool.
and have some stats and stuff like that, like you would see, for sports and everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, and then as part of registration for drivers, we're hoping to kind of have a questionnaire for them so that we've got their stats and talking points, especially when it's drivers that we don't know as well. Like if it's someone that's new that season, or even, we have drivers jump in for just a race or two sometimes. And just it gives Matt and I or whoever's with me, especially if it's someone filling in, say Eric or Hagen or somebody, and gives us some talking points for the drivers. And then again, some stats and their picture to put up on the screen. So just stuff like that. Lighting.
That's cool.
Lighting so that we're not dark, because we really struggle with when we have the trailer door open. It looks awesome because you can see everything behind us, but then we really struggle with lighting because it's so backlit. We had a super strong, bright as the sun spotlight on Matt and I over finals, and we still, so that's just little things like that, just to try and continue to make it look as good as possible and as smooth as possible. And then more, I'm sure there's more things that we'll think of. And
I think that the stat thing is real cool.
Yeah.
What I need you to do is I need you to talk to Clyde, and I need you to make baseball cards of all the regular drivers, and I need you to sell them to
we
me.
do have driver cards. They're not baseball card size, but in the merch trailer, Mama Bynum, Mary Kay Bynum, she's got them in there for like our season drivers.
Do they have stats on?
I haven't looked at any in a while.
Yeah.
But I think so.
Okay.
I think
because I would get like a few just of random drivers just to see like, hey, I've got such and such as car from 2014 or something like that.
I'm gonna make a note right now because this is the notebook.
Hey,
this notebook has made it through like
it's going
3 years so
in
far.
The notebook.
Let's see. Driver cards.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And I know if I'm a competitor, say for example, I pay ahead and I'm gonna, you guys know I'm gonna be at 3 or 4 races. If y'all made me a card, I'd probably buy 100 of them. I'd then just hand them out to people. Hey man, just like here's this. It's me. It's a resemblance.
And a lot of that is like wanting to be able to put their headshot on the screen and their stats and be able to have talking points for them, because we appreciate the drivers. We know what it means to, all of us, like Clyde and the crew, even anyone that's not a racer, still puts in the same hours each weekend. It's late nights and early mornings and a lot of driving and a lot of shop time. And we want to make the events as fun and as special as we can, for the drivers too, with whatever we can do on our side. So, and that's why we do the awards banquet at the end of the year and try to make it fun for everybody. And yeah, so
that was one thing I was going to ask you is the work that you put in is, I mean, unseen to say the least, right?
They're busy weekends.
So it is. We're recording this Thursday at 1:30 p.m. and our original plan was to go ahead and knock this out pretty quick because you were on your way to Boo Bash.
Yeah, I was gonna head up to Dirty Turtle tonight.
On Thursday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my plan changed now, so I'm gonna get up early tomorrow morning and go. But yeah, I mean it makes busy weekends, but I wouldn't want to miss it.
So when you go up Thursday, what are you doing when you get up there? How do you help get the process going? Because I mean, it's one of those things where people just don't understand. They discredit so much. There's
a lot that goes into it, and I'm not even going to take the credit for that because Clyde and Bill and Brooks Myers, our camera guy, comes all the way from Michigan every time. I don't know if most people even know that, but he's from Michigan.
That's not
and he
close.
Makes it to every race.
It makes me feel
so
bad.
I know I can't even complain about my 4 hours or 10 hours even or whatever, but those guys put in so much work, and it's usually just a handful. Clyde will normally go up on like Wednesday or depending on how far away the park is, and get the trailer set up because the satellites, which most people might not know either, and I didn't really even know until Clyde took Matt and I up there the first time we went to Mid-America in the summer and gave us a little lesson because he wanted us to be able to learn too. And Matt and I are looking at each other. Clyde's like, all right, you do this, you do that, you set it up, you get the app out, you look for these numbers because you're like aligning the satellites to within certain degrees, the satellite dishes, with the satellites that he's looking for on his app. They're up in the space. And he's doing all this stuff. He's just flipping through it, and Matt and I are looking at each other like, yeah, we got that.
Yeah.
Yep. And I'm like, I'm going to need more than a 30-minute lesson.
Yeah, just write it down. Put it on a piece of paper.
Right?
That way I can read it again.
So just getting the satellite dishes out and up on the trailer and aligned and set up, and then the whole trailer itself is like trying to put a sleeping bag back in the the bag it came in.
Yeah, that's a great analogy because I'm sure it just like explodes out.
Yeah,
and then getting everything back in is a nightmare. That's my Roomba vacuum. I need to go take it off, or else it'll sit here and do that.
Pause.
I'll be right back. You want your bang? I forgot to ask if you wanted it.
Oh.
Cotton candy.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, my little Roomba dude, he had some kind of bug where he just like once he reaches maximum battery, he just sits there and yells at me. I think my wife is convinced that it's a fire hazard. So she won't let me run it while we're gone. She's afraid that
isn't that the point of the Roombas though? So you don't have to.
Look, if I turn it on, it sounds like a chainsaw. But it's been around for about 3 or 4 years, and it's got its legs. It's earned its. I paid $200 or something for it, and it's worth every penny. Because my golden retriever, if you see like around the edges of my house, there's these globs of blonde hair, and it's if he wasn't so damn cute, he would not be here. I'll tell you that. Yes, it is. We were talking about setting up the satellites and some of the work that we do. So sorry for the derail.
So a lot of the setup I'm not there for because they'll get there a day early. I usually will help with tearing it all back down unless I have to leave for some reason to get home. And man, you don't realize how many banners and flags are out on the hill until you got to take them all down and fit them all back in the trailer.
Again.
And there's a system, but it's a barely there system. Okay. So
hey,
it works.
Right. That's it. Right. It works. They get in, they get out. It works.
So even that starting gate too. We are have voted for a inflatable starting gate for next year.
Very nice.
I'm like, this thing's a beast.
Because it's all metal frame.
It's really nice. Yeah, but taking it down and moving it around it's a beast. But so those guys, like I said, I don't claim any of the credit for that because those guys work so hard out there. So huge shout out to them and anybody else that has ever helped and brought a flag off the hill or fit the generator into the trailer. Put some tape up.
It's beyond me.
Bill is all over the place. Bill Blaisdell with the Grim Creeper. So he helps so much. And anyway, there is so much that goes into it that a lot of people probably just don't think about, but that's just part of it, for to Clyde and
Yeah.
to be able to run the race the way that he wants to run it and be able to do the show the way he wants to do it or that it needs to be done. Like, no, that's just
it. There's a certain way that it needs to be done.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that we talked earlier. My 7-year-old is like destroying my front porch with glitter and paint. And I told her the other day, I was like, you need to go outside and clean it. And she was like, well, what do I clean it with? I was like, I'll set the pressure washer up. And you can just pressure wash it. She said, no, I'll just go out there with a paper towel. I was like, okay, all right, that'll work. That's fine. And she very quickly learned that there's things you need to do and how to do it. And it's not just, I'd like to do it my way, but there's a way you need to do it. So I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, just in order just to do the show, Clyde, he went through so much with the satellites and he became... he actually is like a satellite. I can't remember the word for it. Not like inspector, but like he had to become certified in something just to run his own, just to do his own satellites for the show.
Yeah.
Like he went through all of it. I can't even imagine. Like that's not my thing at all. So I'm like, don't go anywhere anytime soon, Clyde, because we don't got this without you.
Well, I'll tell you this. I don't either, and I can only imagine.
We will have a cell phone set up on a tripod, and that will be the Facebook Live show.
That's it. That's it. You'll just have a 30 seconds between running between the hills. It'll be great. Okay. How did you land as host of Hillside Live?
I guess that 3 years ago, Clyde had been kicking around the idea for a while, I guess, and at a Christmas party at Rich Keith's house 3 years ago, Clyde brought Dave Z, and I think he had called me, or I knew about it at that point, but I hadn't really ever met Dave or talked with him. So that was kind of when we first started to like solidify. I hadn't raced with SRRS in like a year. Just Dad and I went real hard the first like 3 years racing. We had our show 4x4 Nation. We were at like every event, you know, and we got a little burned out. We quit doing the show just because it was so much. Both of us trying to race, plus trying to do the show, bringing our camera guys, getting them all set up where they needed to be, and then getting everything put together and working with our company that did, you know, all the editing and our media and everything. So that just got to be a lot, but we wanted to keep racing. So we did. And then, you know, life gets busy and sometimes you have to say no to good stuff to say yes to the best things, you know, and that's just part of it. And we also did not have the shutoff box on our buggy. So when we were choosing what races to go to, it was just kind of like, oh, well, crap, we can't go to that one, you know, or that kind of thing. And it wasn't on purpose. And it was just kind of how it worked out for that season, you know? And I don't think we were hitting that many races at that point anyway. So I hadn't seen Clyde in a bit, and I had, like I said, done 4x4 Nation. That was what I really got started in with hosting stuff. I'd had an interest in college and pursuing film, like acting. I didn't even really know about hosting at that point, or had never tried it before, but I was interested in acting on film. Had no idea how to go about pursuing it. I have a degree in criminal justice, so I clearly did not.
We'll talk after this. I work in criminal justice.
Oh, okay.
So we'll talk after that.
I didn't know that. So yeah, that seemed like a good idea at the time. And all that was really available at school was like theater, and I didn't want to do theater. I want to do film.
Sure.
So I didn't really know how to even get started in it. So a couple years out of college, I've worked as a nanny for a long time, which is flexible, you know, and I finally was like, you know what? The desire was still there. I still want to do some stuff on camera. You know, it's kind of like now or never. Like I will always wonder what I could have done or what could have happened if I hadn't never tried. So I started Googling stuff. I got into acting classes in Franklin, Tennessee.
That's awesome.
I was just like, no one's going to do it for me.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to like take the bull by the horns and like get my foot in the water and try and do some things here. So, so like I have an agency in Nashville now. I've been with them for a few years. And so I guess right around then is when 4x4 Nation started. And that was Dad's idea. And that was about 2012, right when the racing as a series, you know, and as a sport really kind of coalesced and started and became what it is. So we were at Chacalaco in 2012. Most people probably heard me say this story, but Dad and I were there to film for 4x4 Nation. And we had the juggy, and I guess Shelby and Lori were racing at that point, and they wanted more girls racing, so they talked me into it. I'd never met Trip Pullen before. He got me in his razor, took me to the hill, you know, and I watched Richie go and I watched Bobby go, and I was like, oh, I can do that. Like, no big deal.
Yeah.
Now we had to winch the buggy back onto the trailer. Like,
That's
I broke
a bad
everything.
day right there.
Apparently, if you go into the air and you're in full, all in the throttle, and you come down in the throttle.
Hard lesson learned right there.
Yeah, I had no idea. I think I had raced like one time at one of the county fairs, like Wilson County or something.
Very different than an actual race.
With a different buggy and that had rear steer and everything before that. When the one dad had previous, but anyway, so I would say that it was peer pressure that got me into racing. But you know, I'm also the person that doesn't do something unless I want to. So if it was an opportunity that was presented, and I decided to, you know, go for it. And we were there anyway doing the show. So I got into racing and I got into hosting at the same time. So it was kind of all that season of, you know, doing the web shows. And then I did some YouTube channels stuff. And Brooks Myers from Michigan that I mentioned, he has a channel called June TV, and I did some things with him over the years.
Yeah.
And, I've been up to Silver Lake Dunes in Michigan a couple times with him. So, just like one thing kind of leads to another, just like anything, you know, any industry. And I filled in as host for a motorcycle racing talk show, a weekly talk show called Next Moto Champion for a summer. Got some really good teleprompter experience doing that. And I did the Unlimited Off-Road Expos for like 5 years, I think. Did a lot of their media stuff or some of it anyway. When Facebook Live came around, you know, 3 years ago, I guess, or when it became big, like I was like, oh, I don't like live stuff. I want to be able to edit and delete if necessary. But I remember Googling like, all right, tips for using Facebook Live and all this kind of stuff. Cause that's when it hit, like I was doing it at the expo in Texas, this Texas Motor Speedway for like a whole week. And then that was right when Clyde asked me about doing the show too. So hosting kind of became my niche, I guess, as far as like the film work, and I'm still pursuing acting and hosting. I'd like to be doing it full time. I do about part time right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very fickle industry. Sure. It's like anything, you know, it is possible for something to happen overnight, something amazing. You never know. That's kind of the excitement of the industry. You never really know. Or you might just be grinding it out for years, you know, until you get the right opportunity, the right person, place.
I think about Steve Carell. Are you an Office fan?
I like Steve Carell. I'm not a huge Office fan.
Okay, I get it. So in they did The Office.
I think he's hilarious. Yeah.
The Office did a podcast, and they talked basically about how Steve was like okay at best. Yeah. And then, you know, he did a pool for The Office. It was really okay. And then he does 40-Year-Old Virgin. Yeah. And all of a sudden it launches him to this crazy level of stardom that he's at now. Yeah. And it was one of those things where you had a bunch of people who overnight their entire life got changed. And it's probably one of the very few handful of industries where literally,
it can happen.
When something gets released, you are not the world does not view you as the same person the next day. That's very interesting.
But then, I mean, the majority though are people that you don't know it. Yes. But for 10 years leading up to that, they were doing this commercial or that video or this whatever, and they, you know, put in the time and the effort, and then all of a sudden they're on everyone's radar. So, but it is crazy how the industry works, and I learn more about it as I get deeper into it. But yeah, so it's still that thing where it's like, I'm not going to quit now because I'll always wonder. Yeah. And the desire is still there. And I think that it's a platform that can be used. You know, I'm a Christ follower, and I think that there's a lot of darkness in the entertainment industry. There is. You know, it is, whether it's in music, movies, TV, but think about the influence that it has too worldwide, and how many people watch and listen and hang on every word of people in the industry. So it's, I think having a seat at the table as a Christ follower and having a positive influence, you know, whatever that might look like, and whatever role that is, or how big the platform is, you know, I can't foresee all that, but just pursuing it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Looking for the doors that are open.
Yeah.
You know, it's exciting. So that has nothing to do with racing, but to come full circle, the whole reason I'm doing Hillside Live and hosting stuff, all of that started with racing at the same time, and kind of helped propel me down that path. So, well,
this interview is about you, so it was perfect. I love hearing people's backstory because you're exactly right. Where I know you from is where you are today, right? I don't know any of that stuff back there. Yeah. I guarantee that, you know, the thousands of people that see you on Hillside Live, they don't know that either. So it's an awesome opportunity for them to kind of build like, I want to say friendship in like a weird way.
Yeah. Because build some rapport, some familiarity.
Yeah. And to me, it's respect. Like, not that, you know, I need anyone to know my name, but what it does is that guy who jumps in on the Facebook Live and says like, some, you know, just trash comment. They're just like, okay, that's not it.
What?
But you have
do that?
Right.
That's
you would
weird.
You know, it's so funny. One of the, and hang on, I gotta remember this. But rather than, you know, just have these figures that you don't know anything about that you can just hurl insults at through a keyboard. Yeah. You know, once you learn someone's backstory, see them change over the years, it really builds a level of respect where you're like, okay, they're doing it. And, you know, a lot of times people get frustrated because you're doing it and they're not. That's one true. Of the biggest things I found. And, you know, it's one of those things too, that there is so much moving in our sport right now, especially in the media side, where I feel like,
oh my gosh, this year's been crazy.
Dude, everybody is like checking everybody, and we're all just like, we all rise together, and we're just having.
My dad always likes to say, a rising tide floats all ships.
That's it. So. That's it. And it's one of those things where I've had, you know, other media guys on the show, and afterwards they're kind of like, I didn't think that you would reach out to me about doing this. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, if you gain popularity, we gain popularity. Yeah. There is more than enough room. If people want to have podcasts, if people want to have video shows, whatever it is, there's room for us all here.
Yeah, we're all trying to be representatives, you know, ambassadors of the sport. And I think beyond just the sport being what it is, like, it's about the off-road community. It's about the racing community. Now, I started racing because thought it would be fun. It was something my dad and I, you know, like to do together, and we still do. And I've always been outdoorsy, tomboy type, you know. So it wasn't totally outside my realm of, of an idea of a hobby. But what kept me in it, you know, going on next year will be 10 seasons of racing, you know, it's the community of it. So whether I don't race as much these days, I mean, everyone knows that. People ask me, when am I going to race? And I think everyone probably has heard me say for this season, or rather the last few months, I decided to just take the rest of the seasons off with some back issues and disc issues. And I was like, you know what, it's not worth it at that point. And I spent too much money on decompression therapy for this disc issue to go and below that yet. So we're going to just take the time and, you know, let it heal. But because I'm involved in the media side of it, I'm still there. I'm still part of it. You know, I'm still part of the community. So I don't have to be in my buggy every time, or showing up at the starting line or whatever in order to be part of it, which is what I love. So as long as I can still be there and just be part of it.
And I think that that's really important because, you know, I think it's good to give people answers like, hey, you know, here's why I'm not doing it. Yeah. But then people like start pulling threads, and it's like, dude, I don't owe you anything. And that's something like, that's a really hard lesson learned, especially through social media nowadays, because you'll have, you know, 10 people say, hey man, the show was great, or hey, you guys are doing awesome. And you'll have one jackwagon get in there and say like, just blanket, this sucks. Yeah. And you're like, it ruins your whole mood.
I have straight up told people on this show before, I get a little sassy sometimes, but I'm like, you know what? There are tens of thousands of YouTube channels out there. You can go watch one of them. If you don't like this, nobody's making you watch it. Yes. And it's free.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We're doing all this because we want to, you know, so just chill out, enjoy it, or go elsewhere.
Yeah. And that's, I'll tell you too, like, I'm not an inherently like thick skin fight back person. That's not me. I'm more along the lines of like, I'll take your insult or whatever, because it just doesn't bother me. And I used to not be that way. Yeah. And I think that like we're kind of, for example, we talk about it. The post that I made, I feel like got under some people's skin because there were some responses that were really like, I don't want to say emotional in like a soft way, but like emotion driven, passion driven.
Yeah.
And
there is a lot of passion in the sport.
Exactly.
Everyone
exactly
puts so much into it that they're passionate about it.
My thing about it is, for the racers and for the people in the organization, now is the time, as we're as that, like, this hurdle that we're going to jump over. Sorry, whatever's floating in the air. Whatever hurdle or move into the future that the sport, or I'm gonna say rock balancing just as one, it makes, there's a level of like professionalism, and I think that when you treat it as a profession, like people with the podcast, I get stuff all the time. Hey man, this sucked. For example, in my interview with Ian Johnson, my daughter came up and like bothered me about something on the live stream. Great, you know what? I got like 4 or 5 messages the next day, and they were like, yeah, your kid shouldn't ever be on there. Like, you're supposed to be doing. I'm just like, first off, why? Why did you take the time to do this?
Because they have small lives, and
it
gives them something to. I don't even know.
Yes, and it was one of those things where I hadn't got it under control yet, and I didn't send anything back. I just said, okay, cool, thank you. Like, thanks for your input.
Yeah. And thanks for that really helpful feedback.
Yeah, it's like I don't know what to do with that, but what it did was it really taught me, okay, if I'm going to be a professional, there's a certain, if you think about it like a graph sense, as you gain notoriety, as you gain, the following, the haters come with it too. The people who just want to say something, they come with it too. And I think that racers need to take that too. Like the guys that are doing well right now, dude, you shouldn't be, trash talking it through Facebook.
Yeah.
You're the best of the best right now. If you're the best of the best, carry yourself like Jordan, carry yourself like I'm gonna use like the king you are. If you're the top, dude, these haters are gonna come. You don't have to address them. Kind of thing. And I think that
they don't affect your life.
Exactly.
Or your choices, or they shouldn't. Anyway.
Yeah. And you just, like, for example, if you win a hill and then someone says something negative, don't go after them. Dude, you just won.
Yeah.
That's not undermining you. It's making them look goofy. Yeah. But all that being said, I think that we're in this, like I said, this weird zone where, big sponsors are like coming. That's what we need. We need the funding comes, all this stuff comes. And I want to ask you, what do you think draws the big sponsor money? Example, Ultra 4, Ford, Progressive Insurance, those kind of things. How does that happen?
Well, I do agree. I think that we're at a point now in the sport where we are kind of on a brink, of making some, I don't know, I guess breakthroughs maybe, or, things have grown and changed, but it's taken 9 years to change a lot from where we started to where we are now. And I think things could happen very quickly now. I've always thought that, and because I've always had the dual perspective of being a racer and being in the media side of it, that all the ingredients are here to make the cake, but somebody just hasn't come along and quite figured out how to do it yet.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
My dad and I, when we did our show, we used to have production companies reach out regularly, want to do a reality-based show. We had a sizzle reel filmed at one point. We've had multiple talent hold agreements. We had someone from BBC, a branch of it.
Whoa.
Like some legit companies.
Yeah.
Then that was back, when Duck Dynasty was really big, and the whole that like demographic was everyone was interested in that, and so people can see there's something here, but it just hasn't quite managed to all pull together yet, which, like I said, I think could happen very quickly with the right I don't know, nudge, I guess. And I think that I talked to somebody this weekend who said, from an outsider looking in, he was there for the RC race, and he said we have more personality and characters in the sport, which I agree, and I've always thought too. That's what draws the attention for like doing a reality show or something, which I'm not a reality TV person.
I would, if it were me, I'd probably be like, what, do we have any other offers?
Right. But just that as an example,
right,
that they could see the interest was there. So we have the personality and the characters in our drivers, characters, not like they're being anything fake, but just that it's interesting.
Strong personalities is a great way to put it.
There's interesting people involved in the sport. We've got everything from my dad's a financial advisor. You know, he does investment planning. And so we always kind of joke like his clients expect him to be like a golfer or something, you know, on the, then dad will be like, actually, here, let me show you a picture of like, this is my weekend hobby, you know?
Yeah.
We were out last night. He took the Patriot, his little mini bouncer, and I was on a 4-wheeler, and my little nephew was in his Ace just driving around their property here in town. You know, like that's what we do for fun. But, and then you've got, Bobby Tanner is a logger, you know, and we have several drivers that are in the like dirt earthworks. I don't know which.
That's a good way to put it.
Good
Earth
moving industries.
Yeah.
People that own their own businesses. You know, it's like just such a wide variety.
Yeah.
And backgrounds of people that, you know, well, what brought you into the sport? Well, for this guy it was this, for this guy it was that, but for one reason or another, they're all here now and at whatever level or another. So I think that it's such an interesting sport both to watch, but then also to get to know the drivers, which you said earlier about, you know, people getting to know me through this interview. And that's another reason why we do Hillside Live, is because we want people to see the races, not just from, like, if you watch a YouTube video and you watch a really cool beatdown happen, that's all you know about that person.
Yeah, you think yourself, that guy just likes to beat on his rig. That's it.
But when we get them to come up and do a driver interview, or we show behind the scenes stuff, or those microphones pick up a lot. So y'all get to know all the behind the scenes production stuff that happens in the trailer, whether we intended that or not. So I think it's just another perspective, and we're all just people, you know, like you said, for some reason, sometimes people hiding behind a screen or social media or whatever kind of get this idea that distances them to where they can say whatever they want. You know, I'm like, if you wouldn't say it to my face, don't say it on social media.
Yeah, and that's a culture thing right now. And I think that we'll either go more that direction, or somehow we'll have some kind of check system. I don't know.
But at the end of the day, we're all, whether you're Tim Cameron, you know, whether you're, I don't know, whoever, the newest guy to the sport that just got a bouncer yesterday. Like, we're all just people. And it's a hobby, it's a sport, it's something that we want to grow, that we have grown and want to continue to grow. But at the end of the day, I think that's important to remember. And keep the drama off of Facebook.
Yeah, that kind of stuff will it'll just flutter out. It'll get swept.
I didn't even have an Instagram until a few months ago. That's how I'm like, you know what? People need to know all of my business.
Well, here's the thing. You mentioned this earlier, and it really resonated with me, because you know, people just consume content, and there's a lot of guys who make like vlogs while they're out trail riding and stuff like that. And I've really been debating, you know, I want to, for the sponsors of my show, I would love to give you more value and do like a series of all your products on the trail and this and that. I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, I wouldn't want to do a crappy job, so I'd like to have somebody with a legitimate camera come out, do the whole thing. Then I'm like, I'm going out there to halfway have fun, and like, it robs you of the experience, and I'm not going to do it, because I don't want to, you know, make a full trip to Windrock, have to get out of the car, film something, hit something twice, 3 times. And it just takes out the fun of this. And this can very easily become business rather than play.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think that for me, I've had to really check myself sometimes and say, you know, I really have got to keep the fun to this. And to be honest, part of my refuge from the entire show and everything has been the RC stuff, because I don't cover RCs as much. I do every once in a while, but it's just nice to kind of close it off, not have to worry about anything. You gotta have something
that's just for you.
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I've tried. It's so fun.
Everything doesn't have to be for everybody all the time, which is this kind of always been my.
I'm glad you said that, because I personally, if I didn't have the podcast, would not have an Instagram or Facebook, because it not only, you know, is just weird that people have a privacy issue, but at the same time they put everything out there.
Right.
So I can tell you guys, if you've watched The Social Dilemma on Netflix, everything I'm going to say is not a shocker. So I work for the Department of Justice in coding, and that goes back to, you know, I'm a nerd, like the most ground level nerd who writes code and can tell you everything about your operating system, your kernel, and everything. You know, I can write in binary. Okay.
Well, the only kind of kernel I know is popcorn.
That's it. It's the same thing. But, you know, when I tell people I go do this stuff too, they're like, you know, it's very strange for you to do that. And I understand that very well.
Yeah.
But I lost my train of thought. Oh well, it doesn't matter.
I derailed you with popcorn.
Yeah, no, that's okay. No, it's funny. But anyways, I wouldn't be on social media if I didn't have to.
Oh, if I wasn't, working in the entertainment industry, I wouldn't either.
Yes,
but.
Privacy. Everyone, the government, everything, cops, whoever, whatever, Google, whatever, we all have your information.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. Yep. We've already all got it. You think you hide anything? You don't hide anything. The only person I know who has legitimately hidden everything is my aunt, and she is crazy. And she, when she goes to like a walk-in clinic, she doesn't even fill out the paperwork. She just like says no.
Oh my goodness.
And they'll still like she has no documentation of her children. The only documentation she has on herself was everything from under the age of 18. Nothing.
Wow.
No cell phones.
That's
no
impressive.
Nothing. She is it?
Is it? I mean,
it's
a little scary, but something. It is impressive.
Yes. And my family doesn't listen to the show, so we're good there. But all that being said, we were talking about the rock balancing scene making the jump to large scale.
Yeah, you asked what I thought it would take, to kind of take things to the next level. I think we worked through some stuff this season. We had some driver drama, and it has been addressed in a way that I think that we can move forward now, if that makes sense. Like instead of having the same old thing come up over and over, like
put something to bed.
Yeah. And I think just the way that the drivers comport themselves, anyone that's representing in the sport, me, media, drivers, whatever, Clyde, the series owners, park owners, really everybody that's got a hand in representing the sport, just do it in a way that's the most professional you can. Like we're all just people. We have day jobs and stuff too. We're not out here being I don't know, anybody famous, but
yeah, agree. Very much so.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But just to be mindful in how you present yourself and present the sport, because like you said, the big name sponsors, big money sponsors, they pay attention to stuff, you know, and when everyone's putting everything out there, that gives a lot of fodder that could come back and bite you in the butt.
And it normally will.
Yeah. So I would just, everyone's heard it before. It's nothing new, but just, caution everyone. And that's kind of the viewpoint I take is if you can't be positive or at least neutral about something, just keep it to yourself or handle it in person. Or in private, at least, so.
And I'll say something before I move on. One thing that people don't always seem to understand is that 9 times out of 10, if you go say something crazy online, that sponsor that was thinking about, maybe giving you the next entry fee or what have you, they're probably never even going to let you know that now they're not going to do it.
And I have heard that exact scenario happen, from not obviously being directly involved, but you go and say something in a moment of frustration or whatever it is, put it on Facebook, put it wherever, just say it to the wrong people and someone's paying attention.
Everybody's paying attention.
And so I try and take the positive or neutral viewpoint.
Absolutely.
And if something needs to be fixed, then by all means, no one's saying sit down and shut up and deal and just, it has to be this person's way or whatever. But just handle it in a good way, a helpful way.
Okay. So you mentioned, big organizations kind of looking at the sport as an entirety. One thing that I noticed during finals week is there was, and again, I'm not like, I don't need an explanation. There were some comments about people being able to drive better than you because they're a man. Okay, so look,
Matt Holt.
I
trying to start some crap.
Listen. I am by no means, social justice warrior, Me Too, whatever. That all that stuff is.
Me neither.
Do you think
I can be a woman without shoving it down your throat?
Right. It's one of those where like, do you think? But since I've had my stepdaughter, it has made me softer and more sensitive to stuff like that. Oh. And I just noticed, I was like, if I were watching in the NFL and there was a female commentator and a male commentator said, yeah, I can beat you in a 40-yard dash just because I'm a man.
Yeah. Like,
okay, that's fine. You can say that, but it kept going.
Yeah.
And I was like, these are the things, these are the loose hairs, that need to get kind of tied up a little bit. And again, not to go after that one specific instance.
Yeah.
I think, with the general population coming in and seeing something, I think that you'll have to, not want to say censor, but like just be mindful. Like because I put a lot of thought into it, because I was like, normally that wouldn't have bothered me, but I started thinking about it, and I was like, I was watching the live stream, and I'm thinking, what are these things that might be holding everything back?
Yeah.
And that came up, and then I thought about some of the things that get vocalized, and I heard something in the background, and I heard someone say, just hit it with your purse. And I was like, that's another one of those. It's like, that's a classic rock bouncing phrase.
Yeah.
And it gets said all the time.
And with something we're kind of used to, I guess.
Yeah.
So I don't take particular offense at it.
Mm-hmm.
I know if I want to, first of all, I don't need to prove myself
Absolutely.
to anybody. I
Absolutely.
don't feel that need. But if I wanted to, then I would just go do it. I wouldn't. I don't even make a big deal out of it. Matt Holt, I call you out anytime, anywhere.
One of the best things I thought you said. The best thing I thought you said was, "You can drive my buggy, I'll drive yours." And I was just like, "Yes." I was like, "There it is." So I thought it was really
I love
great.
Matt. I know he didn't mean anything by it.
I know, and
I give him crap too.
well, the only reason I pick on those two things is, if I wasn't, someone who, I don't want to say familiar with what's the right term for, not redneck. That's not the term I'm looking for. Okay, but there are some of those phrases that have been bled in from
demographic. Yes.
Yeah, there some of those phrases have just bled in, and they're part of the scene. If I jumped in, or say for example, I'm the everyday guy who just bought a new Can-Am or something.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, this would be really cool. I'd like to go.
Right.
And my wife is watching the live stream with me, and she hears someone say, why don't you just hit it with your purse? She would probably turn around and be like, yeah, we're probably not going to do that. And it just was one of those things where I was like, it doesn't really, it doesn't really necessarily offend me or anything like that. But I was thinking about what are these things that people are going to, a corporate person or who's an adjuster who says, if we're looking at this rock bouncing thing as a liability, they're going to start nitpicking stuff like that. And I was like, maybe those are some things. And again, that is my super critical, big magnifying. We would have to
fire Zach Garner if they start nitpicking.
Well, that's where I was like, I'm really getting in the weeds here, but I feel like the weeds is where you're going to make the biggest jump.
Yeah.
You start fighting off the weeds and let the grass come in all the way. And that's when you have this silver platter to present on. And that would be a headache down the road, in the event, it could be a potential headache. But all that
I guess I've never really sat down and thought about that seriously before. I guess I have never felt held back in this sport because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
I go out and drive the way I'm going to drive, whether whoever's watching or, whoever I'm competing against.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that that's an issue for me. I'm pretty self-confident and
and again, it was one
how
of those
God
things.
made me and what I can do. And but yeah, I mean, I hear what you're saying too, and I get that. I would love to see more women joining in the sport. I know I 100% get that it's intimidating. I mean, if you just talking about driving, looking at those hills or something, and if it's not something you've done before, it is intimidating.
Yeah.
It's
intimidating. Like I tell people all the time on the podcast, you're nuts. You're crazy. Yeah. You're insane.
I mean, I've been driving in some capacity for the last 9 years now, and I wouldn't have wanted to hit Hill 2 because that's just not my thing. That's not my style of racing, and I mean, if I had signed up for the race, I probably would have done it, but I wouldn't have been excited about it.
Sure. Yeah. If it makes you feel any better, I started an endurance race, and my first time I was there, I was death gripping the steering wheel. And I was like, I'm gonna end up into a tree.
Nervous before every race. It doesn't matter how many times I've done it.
Yeah.
And then you get that high you come off of afterwards, you know, with that adrenaline going.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, off topic.
Yeah.
But I didn't come into this sport trying to earn my spot or trying to earn a seat at this table with the guys or whatever. And as to whether or not I have no idea. You'd have to ask them that.
I would imagine you would.
But I did it because it was something that I was interested in, something that I enjoyed and that my dad got me into, and we kept each other in it. We have said that over the years, well, if you weren't still in it, I probably wouldn't still be doing it, or at least not to the capacities that we have over the years. And then, like I mentioned earlier, it's really the community that has kept me in it and kept me wanting to be involved over the years, whether I'm racing or not, to be at the events. And So I would say to women out there, just like, I made some notes on this. Did I write anything good? I'm going to think of all kinds of wise and clever things to say after this.
Right when you walk out the door, you're like, man, I should have said that.
But I would just say, like, if it interests you and you have the opportunity, like, go for it. You know, not everyone's going to have an opportunity to go in a rock bouncer. So whatever it is in life, you know, and if it's not for you, that's fine too. Like, just because you might try something one time doesn't mean you got to do it forever.
Yeah.
And if driving a bouncer scares you, that's fine. Like, you don't have to prove anything to anybody. It's supposed to be fun, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I've been really blessed in my life with the opportunities that I've had and continue to have. And I've gotten to do a lot of fun things, you know, rock bouncing just being one small part of it, you know, and hopefully continue to take opportunities as they come. And like I said, I've never felt held back at all or anything. And if somebody wants to underestimate me just because they're up against a girl, that's fine too. Like, go for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't, and I want to say this too, because now I'm sitting here thinking on it. I don't think that anyone feels that way.
Right.
And I don't think that people that say that feel that way. I think it is like a precautionary outside looking in, like, hey, you guys, you know, something to keep an eye on.
Yeah.
But again, I think that every driver I've talked to, you know, they're always welcoming of that. There's never a like, there's no ill will, and it is a jokey saying. And again, I want to kind of clear the air there and make sure.
And I have fun getting to be part of. Like I said, I'm a tomboy. I always have been. I've got an older brother. I grew up riding my horses and playing in the creek and running around with his friends, you know, and so I get along great with that crowd and can joke with them and enjoy being around them and stuff. And so I love all those guys. And I'm not afraid to tell them like it is either. If I need to, at the end of the day, we'll all give each other crap. But I would say competing in anything, I mean, don't worry about the other people. It's about challenging yourself and about growing yourself. And, you know, if you try something that's not for you, then go find something else.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I need to say the horse thing is probably the craziest thing that people can do, because you are riding a motorcycle with its own brain. It's an
interesting way to put it.
Yeah. I've always been on horses, had a great time, never had a bad experience. But I do know that I am on something that at the end of the day, I probably don't have control of, because I personally don't know how to control that animal.
I mean, I've had my horses this Christmas. It'll be 21 years since I got my first horse.
Whoa.
Yeah. I don't think when my parents got her for me when I was 9 that they were envisioning the lifelong commitment.
Yeah. That's awesome.
But yeah, it is. And I, of course, can't even imagine. I mean, I hope I get another decade out of both of my horses, but, I don't know. Horseless life will be weird.
How long do horses normally live?
I mean, if they're healthy, they can live to 30. And,
that's amazing.
30-ish. My mare, that is my first horse I got, she is 21. She's 8 months old when I got her. And my gelding is, I don't know when his birthday is. He's a couple years older than her, is all we know.
That's awesome.
So they're my babies. I rode yesterday, and I always just ride bareback because I'm too lazy to put a saddle on.
Braver than me.
It's a good leg workout because my legs are sore today.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Listen, again, I've like been on a mini horse and felt unsafe because I'm just like, animals are just stronger than me. My dog minds me really well, but if it really came down to it and my dog decided, hey man, I'm going to eat you today, it'd be a good fight.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some horses I've not been a fan of over the years that I've been around, but yeah, mine are my babies. And I do think that sometimes though, I'll be riding and I'm just like, you kind of have that weird, like out of mind moment where you're like, whatever you're doing. For me, it's like, I'm sitting on top of this animal.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I told my wife this weekend, I said, we have 2 animals that sleep in our bed. Like, what's wrong with us? Like, and they're just passed out and they trust us. Like, it's so funny. I'll like lift my dog's I don't know, cheeks is the right way, and like show her teeth. I'm like, I'm literally messing with this.
I do that to my horses too. Yeah, I'm like, how are your teeth looking?
Yeah. I just think to myself, I'm like, in what world did God say, people they're gonna
and they're gonna really like these animals, but they're gonna hate those over there.
Yes. So. Yeah, it's the craziest thing. So I just I think about that all the time because I'm just astonished sometimes that I have a 120-pound animal in my house.
Well, I'm an animal lover, so I am glad that God gave us at least some animals.
Yeah.
To enjoy.
There's some good ones out there.
Yeah.
There are other.
They're my original horsepower.
There you go. So is one horse like a horsepower? I think I looked it up and sent it to the show one time. You guys were asking.
Yeah, we had that.
I like
donkey power.
Yeah, donkey power. That's what it was. I looked up. So again, I have a degree in math as well, and I looked up, and it's like 43 joules is a horsepower, and a donkey was half. So it doesn't seem right, but I don't know.
I would imagine that it all started back when cars took over for horses, and
that's true.
So it was like you would have like an 8-horse.
I just wonder.
Set up pulling like a bigger train or carriage or something. Yeah. I don't know.
So that would be something I would like to figure out is like what kind of horse is 1 horsepower?
Yeah.
Like at what point in their life?
We talking like a Clydesdale?
Hey, it depends if you get in a rock bouncer. Horsepower might be a Clydesdale.
Yeah.
It might be a big couple.
The Bacons that would be like Clydesdales would be the big buck. Bacons.
Oh yeah. That's right. So that's funny you bring that up. What are these changes? I'm hearing all these guys talk about like, hey, I want to make this change for this season. Where are they going?
Man, that's a good question because I can't keep up with who's building what and who bought what and who is driving somebody's that they don't own.
Yeah. Okay. I found out Timmy sold Menace like 5 months ago, and like people
but he's
online,
still driving it.
People online like old news.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah.
It's not. I just found out.
And I feel like I am privy to a lot of stuff being where I am, and I still feel behind a lot of times. So who's doing what? I'm excited for Boo Bash this weekend, and the Tanner's coming out. Yeah, which I mean I did know about that.
Oh, really?
My dad's good friends with Richie. So.
Okay. Well, tell Richie. Listen, tell him to ignore the 17,000 messages I've sent him on Facebook and to message me back. Just say hey, because I've tried to get him on the show and just reach out to him. I get nothing back. So it's okay.
I don't know if he'd be into that or not.
Most of these guys aren't. I'll tell you this: that when I started, I don't even know. I guess it's been over almost 2 years now. When I started 2 years ago or a year and a half, whatever it's been, a lot of these guys were like, you want to do what? You want to have an hour phone call and record it?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, it'd be great. We'll just hang out. And they're like, I'm probably okay. Like, I think Tim told me 3 or 4 times. He told me no before he said yes. And I was just like, come on, man. This is the one that's going to make it. So they've come a long way.
Hey, imagine trying to interview them on the live show.
No, can't.
A lot of them have come a long way though.
Yeah.
Over the years and even over the season. Because, everybody has gotten to the point where years ago when we started out, it was a sport and it was a series, yes, but it was also people beating down on their rigs in the middle of the woods in whatever park we were at.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's safe to say we have progressed greatly to the point of what sponsors are involved and the caliber that's involved and what we're on the edge of, like we talked about earlier. Mm-hmm. And the drivers do realize now, for the most part, at least, that having some media representation and social media and like a website or even just being able to portray themselves well when they're on the podium or whatever that looks like, that is important, and it does play in whether they want to or not. Mm-hmm. Like Wes Keene hates the camera, hates the microphone.
I've tried to get him.
Yes,
as well.
I've known him for like 10 years now, and I've hardly ever had a real conversation with him.
I guess if you're just wired that way, because I've talked to people, and I forget. Oh, I was talking to Joey Beck, and I was like, "Help me get Wes Keene on the show." He's like, "Jesse,
did he laugh?
Wes Keene called me last night and said I blew my engine up. I'll be there tomorrow." And hung up.
He's
and
a man of few words, and we love to make fun. Tease Matt Schisler, because he hates it too. But then you've got a lot of the drivers really have stepped up this season and last season with their social media presence, and just knowing that there is kind of a package that needs to come together if they want to present to a sponsor and be taken seriously and looked at. And not every driver wants that. Not every driver's out here looking to be sponsored. Some just are out here for fun. Not everyone wants either the commitment or
obligation.
Obligation of sponsorship, which it can be a lot. And sometimes what they want out of you and what they give you, it's a large obligation, we'll say. And and that can go tons of different ways. But so a lot of the drivers have really stepped up this season with that, and just with how they their understanding of it and just embracing it. And even if you don't love it, Yeah, so it's kind of part of it if that's the road that you want to take.
That's fact.
Is moving further towards the professional imagery and sponsorship and all that. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much all I had. Do you have anything else we didn't talk about?
Let me look at my notes here.
Yeah, please. So for those who can't see, she got a good almost. I think it's 2.5, 2.25.
Well, yeah, I just started scribbling.
That's okay.
So and I don't know if I used much of it or not.
That's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, I meant to say earlier when we were talking about hills and just race style, kind of adding in like the longer track style and hills, that choosing a hill to race on is very hard.
Yes.
And so props to Clyde and anyone else that's ever put on a race, for having to go out and look at the side of a hill and whether, 10 years of experience, yes, that helps, but still, and say, this is going to be great. Most people will be able to make that. And then they don't. Or this is going to be super hard. This is it. And then everybody makes it and people online are, oh, it's too easy, So I just want to say that I understand and appreciate the difficulty of trying to maintain competitiveness, keep it doable and still a race, not down a hill every time for the drivers, and be able to keep it safe, which is important, keep it spectator friendly. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it. So I don't ever want to nitpick at all about something like that without at least for sure saying, I totally understand how difficult it is.
Sure.
And would not want to have to do that myself.
Yeah. Well, I think it also goes back to there's like 3 schools of people. There's the first group, which everything's perfect now.
Yeah.
2, I'll do 3. 3 is you need to hit blue holler waterfall every single time you race.
Yeah.
And then there's the guy in the middle where I find myself, which is I really like the short course stuff, but I like a harder hill that maybe 80% will climb, and I think that the problem with that is that harder hill that 80% climb doesn't exist. It doesn't exist where you can get people.
It's so subjective to the park that you're at.
Exactly.
I mean, everything down to the dang weather and whether it rains that day. Like it's hard. It's hard, people. If you're listening and you've never been to an event in person, but you've watched the live show, just take it with a grain of salt and trust us.
Yeah. And I personally think the Mid-America jump, the motocross jump, that was cool. We saw a lot of people go wild. Like DC Thompson was just like, hey, I'm going to land on flat ground. And then we see Hawk Pride, where you guys had the optional step up over that ledge. Dude, you got 2 highlight reels out of that. One where some Razor's wheel just blew off the side.
It was Matt.
And then was it Jace? It was the son?
Holden Storts.
Okay. Yeah, dude.
That
double backflip. Crazy.
That was crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that you guys are doing an awesome job.
I don't get any credit. I don't take any credit for any of that. That's all
the collective.
Yeah.
We'll say the collective. Okay.
I'm just here to talk about it on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you guys are also. I mean, again, we're in just such a I'm gonna say we. You guys are in. We'll say we. We'll get everybody pull ourselves in here. We're in such a pivotal time.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited. I think it's really cool that Ultra 4 is kind of blending in. Personally, I'm a big fan of this hybrid system that's coming in.
Well, that kind of goes to show, I mean, I don't know Dave Cole hardly at all. I've been around him a handful of times and that's about it. But I would just say anybody that's looking at visions for next year and speculating on what that means, King of Hammers has been happening for I don't know how many years now, and it's a big deal, but they acknowledge what we're doing too. Where it's going.
Yep.
And not only where we are now, but where we have the potential to go, where we are headed.
Yep.
And like I mentioned earlier, just kind of bringing together, merging the following, the audiences, the demographic of both of those, and creating a super sport.
Yeah. And I think it's a really big deal to be recognized.
Yeah.
So it started, I mean, in my opinion, you have Ultra 4, which is a little more straightforward in my opinion because the liability is not as high. I mean, look, from an insurance perspective, hill killing is a nightmare, an awful nightmare to deal with. And where the long distance races, they have hills, things like that, but it's not the immediate danger of hill killing. But you have Ultra 4 that is really firmly established. They have a recognition, invite us to, the shootout. They're like,
Yeah.
hey, come be a part of this. And now we're starting to see.
I feel like we were like the cousins or
Yeah,
something that got invited to family dinner.
Exactly. But now, you're opening the door of recognition of, hey, we used to do the shootout thing, that was cool.
Yeah.
But now let's do a race together. I think this is this is other people, coming in the room, is having a seat at the table and saying, is what's here. Because I think you're right. Like that national level that could be there, that'd be really cool. I know. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Nick Kortenberg had the Vision rock bouncing rankings. Those were cool. That was across all 3 leagues.
Yeah.
Stopped sometime in the middle of this season with COVID, but I think it's cool.
Didn't everything.
Right. But yeah, I think that's cool, and I think that big umbrella arc it's coming, and I think that's going to be part of whatever comes next. And
I think next season, leading up to the Visions event, and then just kind of seeing what comes out of it, that'll be really cool.
It's going to be awesome. We're in a super cool spot.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else before we close it out?
Oh man, I'm sure in about 5 minutes I'll think of some really great stuff. But right now,
okay.
Well, cool.
Anything else you want to say in terms of where people can find you on social media? The lovely social media.
My Super Fun Instagram page. I'm just Bree Molitor on Facebook and Instagram. BreeMolitor.
Okay.
I think I'm the only Bree Molitor out there, or at least the only one that shows up. Getting in my Instagram name was not. I didn't have to come up with something weird.
Nice.
It's just Bree Molitor.
That's nice. That's nice. Keep it consistent.
Yeah.
Well, okay, Bree. Thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. It was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to next time. We'll have to maybe before Visions, I can catch you before you go out there. That would be cool. Or maybe after Visions.
Yeah, I'm down. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about.
That's a fact. But thanks for coming in today. You're the best.
Thank you.
Just like that. All over.